Hello, in this video I'm going to go through some useful features in the client that are related to default files and default options in terms of creating element data. So here's our SMARTree client, here is our libraries on the left here, and when you start up the software it generally starts up empty. This is our editor right here, it's showing up empty. But if you are doing repetitive tasks to any one of these trees, or you'd like to use a tree as kind of your starting tree every single time, you can always set that as your startup tree, and that's very easily done. You can actually pick any tree in here. So I can open up any tree. I can go in here under material, for instance. And if I right-click that, I can actually set as startup tree. So what that means now is the next time you start the software, that will be the tree it starts. If you want to undo that, you can actually go in here and you can go startup file, and you can also deselect as startup as well. So if you want to set it and deselect it, you can do it right here on the main menu. The other nice feature here is related to how we can have default data. So in here, in our normal editor, we have this add dropdown, and this add dropdown is used to add information. And once you do that, you bring up a window right here, and you can pick from a list. But you see right now this list is empty. So this list is like a pre-selection. It's kind of like a default list that you can use to quickly populate element data. So wouldn't it be nice if we had a nice pre-selection here that would populate the data for us, so we wouldn't actually have to enter the data? Well, that's done by setting a default. So the default is done by simply adding the term default to one of our SMARTrees. So right now there is not one selected. So I'm going to pick one of my SMARTrees and I'm going to assign a default smart tag. So we'll see. A good one to pick is in your maybe in your templates, like your unit templates. So any one of these, I could say, okay, I would like to be able to access this data at any time when I add a piece of information here using the add function. So the way to do that is you can simply right-click in here, and you can say set as default tree. So I'll do it first for the units because that's an easy one to show. So I click on units, set as default tree. So now you'll see a default smart tag is added. And I have other videos to talk about smart tags, but smart tags are like metadata, essentially attached to any one of your trees. So now the software knows that this is your default tree. Here's a preview of it, so you can see what it looks like. And in this particular tree, it's basically just a drop-down selection of units. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be able to use this when I add any item over here. So if I go into add now and I say, okay, let's add a selection, you'll now see in the list, you'll see all of these items here are now available for you to pick. So you can say unit of stress, and here we have it, and here are the items and the associated values, and we can then hit add, and now we have that in here. Of course, you can always add, drop and place from the preview window. But if you're working with the preview window for other functions, and you maybe just want to grab, have that data always available to you, it is now available because you've now set that up as a default tree. The nice feature as well is you can pick any tree in here to be your default tree. So if you want to, as I said, have quick access to the contents of one of these trees and have it always available to you in your editor, simply right-click on any one of these trees and you can simply say set as default tree. And what it'll do is it'll always pick the first one in your list as your main default tree, so your default list doesn't get too crowded. So that's basically how you set defaults in terms of default information as you're building it. You can also, of course, use the smart ribbon here to access any information, but there's a few steps involved with this. You have to go through your smart tags and pick through which type of smart tag you want and what level you want and whatnot. But using this feature for defaults allows you to always have the default information available to you on the very first dropdown. If you want to download all these templates, all this data, you can do so from the link below the bottom of this video. Thank you.